Hey, what's going on, Archons? Welcome to another Boulevard Blake video. This week I'm focusing on Sealed Alliance, and I'm using my Grim Reminders decks from KeyForge Celebration, and I've already done some of the work here for identifying what's in the houses. This is pretty messy. So basically when we did KFC, we were only given 20 minutes when normally there's 30, and this is a new set. So it was very hard to actually do this process, so I didn't. As you can see at the top, all that scribble on the top is basically me trying to figure out what my deck had to begin with, that I ended up going with. But I'm going to use my process I normally do, and I'm going to go over each of the pods. So I'm going to show all the cards in there because I have basically all the stats already mapped out on that paper I just showed a moment ago. So that way I don't have to do all the counting, which is quite boring, I think, to do on a video. So that part's already done, but as this is a new set, I just wanted to go over all the cards that are in here, so at the very least you could all see that. And so caveat, I've started a new process for my Sealed Alliance. So this process is pretty tried and true, where I just write down the stats. I'm going pips on there in terms of Ember pips, creature count, Ember control cards, board control cards, efficiency cards, disruption cards, and then for Grim Reminders, I created a new category, which is on the right there. It's discard and scrap. So the number card you can discard from your hand, like that literally say discard from your hand, or their discard pips, and then scrap abilities to go along with it. Since that is the new, I guess we'll call it hotness, no, new mechanic that exists, and it creates efficiency, because if you can get an extra card out of your hand, means you're also drawing an extra card. So I do like it. I don't account for it in efficiency. I'm using the E as traditional efficiency, which is drawing, house cheating, things of that nature. This is more just to see ways I could potentially utilize discarding cards and scrap mechanics and something in that variation. So without further ado, let's get into this. And oh, the last part I also forgot to mention is the new thing. So the new thing I'm doing is, before I would just not really look at the cards, and I'd just be counting for what the cards do and account for the stats within a pod. Now I actually want to look at the pod, and is there a pod that, without taking any stats in consideration, has cards that jump out as this could be really potent, really powerful, a really solid pod, aside from what you look for in terms of a KeyForge deck having Ember control, board control, things of that nature. So that is something to be considered now for me, and I think it's a really good aspect that I didn't properly consider before. So first up, we got the first Brobnar pod. So it has Barehanded, Coda Classic coming back, Countryside Crusher after fight. If your opponent is haunted, you may ready and fight with a neighboring creature, and then scrap, ready and fight with a leash powerful friendly creature. So instant fun there. Cannon, this artifact deal 2. Earthshaker, destroy each creature with power 3 or lower, 2 discard pips. Blunderbore, a new great creature, 6 power after fight. If you're haunted, your opponent loses 2, otherwise your opponent loses 1. We got Headhunter, another Coda Classic from Brobnar, providing that amazing fight and gain Ember ability. Such a classic card. Then we got Heavyweight Morik, which has a splash attack 2 with a scrap ability, which essentially is deal 2 damage to a friendly creature and 2 damage to an enemy creature. There's 3 of those. Ornar Skullface, assault 3, deal 3 damage to a creature. Shock Herder, little ready and fight. Thunderdell, if you're haunted, Thunderdell gets splash attack 5, which is pretty nice with a Shock Herder. As a whole, this just stood out as lots of creatures. That's really what it is. Good scrap mechanics in here as well. So that's pod 1 Brobnar. Pod 2 Equidon we have is Tutor Bin Relo. So discard up to 3 cards. Your opponent draws 3 cards. Scrap, each player draws a card. So kind of interesting thing where you're giving your opponent a card, but you're getting to potentially draw 3 cards and cycle hard. Old Tinker, Classic, Security Detail. This is one of my favorite cards in Equidon. A friendly creature in each neighbors captures 1. That's a 3 capture right there. Ember control. Rumor Sour. After reap, your opponent discards the top card of their deck. Stun an enemy creature that shares a house with the discarded card. Incarnation Pod. This is pretty cool. Choose a card in any discard pile and put it on the bottom of its owner's deck. That's pretty neat. And then purge the bottom card of each player's deck as a scrap ability. I really like this card. Hospitality, so choose an enemy creature and a friendly creature. Until the end of turn, the friendly creature's power is equal to the enemy creature's power. That's pretty awesome. When if something has damage, you could take something out that way. De-escalation. Destroy each creature. Your opponent archives the top 3 cards of their deck. That is an interesting one. And there's 2 of those. But I mean, as far as board control, not getting any chains, it's an interesting trade-off. So, excuse me. I want to talk about this card for a second, because if you think about getting chains, it basically means that your efficiency is reduced. So this is a reverse of that. Your opponent's efficiency is increased. Now, if they're random cards, it could be great because it makes their archive gummed up. And then Phobivore, this creature gains while you're haunted. This creature cannot be used. Little control. Pen Pal, action, exhaust an enemy creature. If you do, each player gains 1. Again, the trade-off in Equidon. I'm not sure how I feel about that card. Geruku, I don't even know how to spell that. This is Gegroku Sapper. Take control of an enemy artifact. Give your opponent control of Geruku Sapper. And then scrap, destroy a friendly artifact. If you do, destroy an enemy artifact. So interesting artifact control there. And then lastly, we have Elena the Charming. So it's treachery. So you give this to your opponent. It says, after you forge a key, give control of the most powerful friendly creature to your opponent. Pretty interesting card. I don't know how hard it plays, but there it is. And then moving on to the Equidon pod. Singing Scythe. While you are haunted, you may return Singing Scythe from your discard pile to your hand, and it goes, creature gains after reap if you're haunted. Purge a card from a discard. BR Geist, love this card. Choose a creature in any haunted player's discard pile. That player, play that creature as if it were in your hand. Sick card. Boo, just a nice little get top cards. 10 cards from a player's deck gone. Ecto Charge, forge a key at +20 current cost, reduced by 1 for each card in the discard pile. If you do, purge. Hallowed Eve Festival, discard the top 5 card of your deck. For each Geistoid card discarded this way, a friendly creature captures 1. I really like this card. Double Haunted House. At the start of your turn, if you're not haunted, discard the top card of your deck. And if you're haunted, gain 1. Like, this is just sick. Stay haunted, gain 2 Ember every turn, no matter what house you're in. That is insane. In here somewhere, if you're haunted, archive 2 cards from your discard pile. Otherwise, discard the top 5 cards of your deck. I really like In Here Somewhere. Just the ability to pull back key cards is incredible. Like Junk Restoration, discard the top 3 cards of your deck. You may put a card discarded this way into your hand. There was a card here. Yeah, like discard the top 5. Archive 2, discard the top 3 of your deck. There's just ways you can do some really neat things here with all these. And then here, double Mehmet. Archive the topmost card of your discard pile from player destroyed. Love Mehmet. Touchstone, after reap, if you're haunted, draw 2 cards. Otherwise, discard the top 2 cards of your deck. Just some really interesting ways you can do some cool stuff here. Very powerful house. So going on what we just said, this alone, having Ecto Charge makes this stand out. Boo, basically getting you halfway to Ecto Charge. Never mind all the other things to interact with your discard pile, plus a double haunted house. This instantly stands out. So if I was doing my alliance notes here, I would actually instantly mark that with a star next to it, an asterisk, as this is something to be considered before knowing anything else and any of the stats it provides. That's why I'm currently doing this. So next up, we have the second Equidon pod, which is Tutor Bin Relo with a capture pip. We know this one, discard the top 3 cards. We got 2 of those here. This one's with a discard pip. Another old Tinker. We have Siphon Neptarian. While you're haunted, it gains taunt. And it says destroyed if it's not your turn, gain 2 with a discard pip. Really nice. I do like this. And it counts as a knight as well, which is interesting. Security detail, we've gone over this. Great Ember control. Belligerent Guard. A classic card, whether you want it or not. Common currency, a little bit of artifact control. May just be artifact disruption if they choose to take a turn to pull it back, but still very nice. Trade secrets, so any cards you don't want from Equidon in your hand, discard any number of Equidon cards from your hand, steal 1 for each card discarded this way. Really neat is you can utilize scrap abilities to really take advantage of this and get multiple layers to your discarding. So I think trade secrets has actually gone up in value with this set. And then good old Sandworm. here. After fight, shuffle it into your deck. Has 2 Ember pips, and then obviously the draw pip added on. Pen Pal, like I said, don't know how I feel about this. I'm sure there's some applications where this is going to be handy. I just don't know what it is right now. And last one is Soul Exchange. Choose a player, return the topmost creature card from that player's discard pile to their hand. Destroy a creature controlled by that player. So many great things I could see this used for. This could be used on your opponent, used on you, Memets, things like that. I just see so many great applications for this card. I'm a big fan. Next into the Geistoid house, Geistoid 2. So Grim Reaper happened to be rocking that mat for this in particular. So yeah, and here is the Grim Reaper printed. So pretty cool. So Grim Reaper, if you're haunted, enters play ready. It says after reap, purge an enemy creature and a friendly creature. Really interesting card and application, especially now that we see haunted. Snippy, love this card. Skirmish, play, deal 2 damage to a creature, scrap, destroy an enemy flank creature. I really like the scrap ability. Reaver, after reap, move 1 from a friendly creature to your pool. If you do, discard a card. So 2 of those. That is awesome. So you're potentially getting 2 Ember. And then Haunted House, love to see that. Harvest Skimmer, look at this. Discard the top card of your deck. If it's a creature, gain 1. There's 2 of those. So lots of Ember generation. And then here, Hallowed Eve. Discard the top 5 cards of your deck. For each Geistoid card discarded this way, a friendly creature captures 1. Pair that with the Reaver, and you are just laughing. And then wait, there's more. Dark Lamp. Each friendly creature with Ember on it gains elusive. Play, capture 1. So again, getting used to those Dark Reavers, and also being able to capture on a creature with the Hallowed Eve Festival. So really like that. And then next up, we have the Singing Scythe. Again, while you are haunted, you may return Singing Scythe from your discard pile of your hand. Purge has a discard pip on it, so that means you can actually return this and start getting a lot of value of cycling. Infiltrator, Skirmish, Treachery, Versatile. So your opponent can use this every turn, but at the end of your turn, destroy Infiltrator's neighbors. And then here comes a slightly broken card. Return each Geistoid card from your discard pile to your hand. Purge this card. Sick. Like, you literally can just play it all and then get it back. Like, I love it. This is a really nice card. Island of Misfit Toys. And then the flavor text on this island, they're all safely locked away. So there's another Geistoid house. Then we move on to Star Alliance, which has Badge of Unity, which we know as makes a Star Alliance creature. In addition to its other houses, Event Horizon, discard the cards from the top of your deck until you discard an action card around a cards. If you discarded an action card, play that card. So kind of a new Lethalogica-ish card, but you can play an action card from any house. Trigon's here, discard the top card of your deck, resolve its bonus icons, pretty cool. Pentacorder, this creature gains your opponent's keys cost +1 for each house represented among friendly creatures. And then Calm Officer Palik, love this card. So you can play it versatile, use it every turn, and then it's capturing Ember. So I really like that. And there's 2 of those in here. Then we got Lieutenant Halasta with a discard pip. After reap, stun a creature, scrap, stun the most powerful enemy creature. And then we have Modular Exoskeleton. So +4 power, and then at the beginning of your turn, you may return it from your discard pile to your hand with a capture pip. Love to see it. Perimeter Alarm. Use a friendly non-Star Alliance creature. If you're haunted, archive it. That's amazing. Rogue Operation, we know this one. Discard 2 cards from your deck and steal 1. Really nice. Strength from Diversity. Each friendly non-Star Alliance creature captures 1. Very nice. And then Triangular Newsom. After reap, if you're haunted, move each Ember from Triangular Newsom's neighbors to your pool. I mean, just as these 3 houses, I kind of like this deck just as its own, just from what it showed there and the synergies with capture and getting to utilize that. So I kind of like this deck just for what it is. Then moving over to the last Geistoid house, we have Memet, which you've seen. Play, destroyed, archive the top card of your discard. Junk Restoration, discard the top 3 cards. You may put a card discarded this way into your hand. Love that. In here somewhere, another great comment. If you're haunted, archive 2 cards from your discard pile. Another haunted house. I think I have a haunted house in every pod, which is pretty sick. So we know this one. And then Harvest Skimmer, again, discard the top card of your deck. If it's a creature, gain 1. A boo, never sad to see this. Beergeist, again, great card. Choose a creature in any haunted player's discard pile. Play that creature as if it were in your hand. Then we have Tangler, which is stun a creature and each of its neighbors after reap, or just scrap, stun a creature. Return to rubble. Shuffle the top 10 cards of your discard pile into your deck. If you do, destroy each creature. Pretty cool. Just anything that's board control is good. Demo Eldergeist. Sorry. Each friendly creature with Ember on it gains destroyed. If you're haunted, gain 1 for each Ember on this creature. Pretty sick card, not gonna lie. Yeah, this is just really nice. I like it. Boiler. Destroyed, deal 6 damage to each enemy flank creature. If it's scrapped, deal 1 damage to each enemy creature. And then here, future is past. So swap each player's deck with their discard pile. Shuffle each player's deck. Really cool. Then we move on to the second Brobnar card. A Brobnar pod, sorry. And we have another Thunderdell. Shock Herder with a discard pip. Then we have Orner Skullface, another one of these with a scrap. Memorialize the Fallen. Each player loses Ember equal to the number of creatures in their discard pile. Really cool card. If you're haunted, deal 3 to a creature with 3 splash. Otherwise, deal 3 to a creature. Another Headhunter. Down to size with a capture pip. Choose an enemy creature until end of turn. That creature is considered to have 1 power and 0 armor. Really sick. Especially with a Berserker Slam. Then Lifting Buddy. Play, and then after fight, give Lifting Buddy 2+1 power counters. And give another friendly creature 2+1 power counters. Really cool. Especially with an Earthshaker, you can save a 3 power there. So Earthshaker, and then double cannon for a little board control. And finally, moving on to the last Equidon pod. So another Tutor with a capture pip. We know this one. We got another one of those. Permanent Record. Exhaust a friendly creature. If you do, steal 2. Very nice. Historian Lee Darkin. After Reap, each player returns the top card of their discard pile to their hand. Estate Sale. Love this. Purge a non-creature card from your discard pile. If you do, gain 2. Belligerent Guard. Uncommon Currency. Shopping Spree. Discard your hand and draw a card for each card discarded this way. I mean, scrap, right? Cool scrap things can happen with this. Gone up in value. After Reap, swap an artifact from your discard pile with your hand. Love it. Phobivore. This creature gains while you're haunted. It cannot be used. Out Negotiate. We know this one, but with a discard pip. Choose a card in your opponent's discard pile. Steal Ember equal to the number of bonus icons on that card. Ember bonus icon cards on that card. And put it on the bottom of its deck. And then lastly, Embertrage. Your keys cost +1, but you get to draw an extra card. So pretty interesting. So there are all the pods. Now, for me, what stood out is really that one. I would say the Starline stood out a little bit as well. But let's look at this here. So let's just take a look at the stats. So I've circled in each column the top 2 ones that stick out. So if we're going to look at that, the most pips are on the first Geistoid, and then the first Equidon, and then the last Geistoid. Creature count, the highest was in Geistoid, second Geistoid, and then Brobnar. And then if you look for Ember Control, the Starlines by far had the most. And if you look, the rest didn't have a lot. So if I want Ember Control, that Starlines needs to be prioritized anyways just for that. It also had pretty strong efficiency as well there. So that's something to consider. And then for Disruption, it was really just the Geistoid and Equidon. And then for Discard and Scrap, there was the first Equidon and the last Equidon had the most there. But the Brobnar had the most scrap in general. So if I'm looking at straight stuff, board control, Brobnar had a ton. And then both Brobnar had a lot of board control. That's the thing. So if I was going to go for greatest stats, I think it would be pips and efficiency. That goes Geistoid 1 gets chosen. So that's this one right here. And then if I want Ember Control, I'm choosing this one here. And then by choosing Geistoid and Starline, so all other Geistoids have been eliminated as a result. So that leaves me with a Brobnar and Equidon choice. So the bottom Equidon one, which has Embertrage, which is cool, actually provides a decent amount of Ember Control, decent amount of board control, decent amount of efficiency. It's the runner-up for efficiency, actually. I didn't circle those because there's 3 of them. I put a dash because there's so many. And then decent creatures with 5. So what's my current creature count? So this is something I wanted to consider is, what am I looking for? Is creature count important? If so, I'm currently sitting at 3 creatures from the pod I chose. So that's a low creatures there. Then if I went Star Alliance, they have 5, so I'm currently at 8. So that's not a lot. If I go for the Equidon, that only puts me at 13 creatures. So I want a higher creature count, and that leaves me the Equidon at 7. But there's nothing it's first for there. It's in third for a couple things. So I mean, board control as well. Currently, what's my board control? Because we all know board control is important in this day and age. So the Star Alliance I chose only has 1 board control card. The Geistoid has 0. So board control is important. So that leads me to go then to the Brobnar, because it adds creature count and board control, the 2 things I'm lacking. So if I choose this, you know what ends up happening? Doing this process and decision making, I end up on the deck I ended up playing. Now, one thing I could do is I could choose to go for this Geistoid pod, simply because of the fact that it had a really nice way of capturing and utilizing things. But the other one had the key charge, which is huge, and it has Island of Misfit Toys. So it's really hard. I don't think I change. I think even going through this process, choosing the pods I did, I ended up with what I chose, and I didn't go through this process. But I did identify that there was a lack of creature control, and I wanted Ember control prioritized and sealed. So the board control, Ember control, all that, and ended up coming together through these 3 pods here. So I ended up coming to the same conclusion, which means I made the right choices after spelling it all out. And this deck was a ton of fun to play. So that was pretty cool. I mean, there is things you could do, like trying to prioritize discarding your hand and going through the discard and utilizing scrap. I don't know if there's potent enough stuff, and I don't think I'm familiar enough with those aspects yet to lean into that sort of strategy. I think going for a classic KeyForge of going board control, Ember control, board presence, and things of that nature is the right call, because I ended up having 6, 7, 9 pips, which is decent. So I'm happy with the decision I made, and my deck proved to be pretty solid. So that's how I go through my Sealed Alliance process. Hope you found this informative and useful, and enjoyed getting to see a bunch of new cards from Grim Reminders. And as always, folks, may your Ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.